Hello, I'm DV, your humble GM and player, and welcome back to another episode of Ironsworn, Playing God Apothecary, following the adventures of Dag of Valemark. Last episode, we were able to frame the Child of the Light who was leading Valemark, and who also was our main antagonist, who had our grandparents beaten and branded. And so our main goal was to swear vengeance against Child Kione, and also to basically make a change in the church to allow herbalism. And so we kind of got a lot of progress from the last mission, because Child Kione is going to have a trial. And we don't know what the result of that trial will be unless we make a journey to Axe Crag. So maybe we will do that and find out what happens to them. Perhaps, but I think for today we want to maybe see if we get another customer that needs some help in herbal remedies. Before we take on more customers, I think it's time for us to probably restock our supplies. Our supplies are running a little bit low. I think we will go out into the woods and probably do some foraging to rebuild our supplies of herbs and remedies that we can use to help people. And before I do that, I think I would like to secure an advantage with expertise, insight, or observation. So I'm going to roll wits, which does not give us our +1 from shadow, but we do have a 3 in wits, so that's not bad. I think we will see if we can make our plan for today and take inventory of our stocks and see what we have and what we need. So I'm going to go ahead and roll that. And I get a strong hit with a positive twist with a score of 4, which is relatively low. But the challenge dice are a double 3. And so we get to take 2 momentum, which is great. That will put us up to a 4. And we gain advantage, take control, make another move now, not a progress move. And when you do, add +1, or I can prepare to act and take 2 momentum. And so I'm taking that 2 momentum. And which I could do, make another move now where I do my resupply. And that will give me a +2 with a +1 on my roll. But I think I'll just roll again with my resupply now. Now that I've made my preparations and gained that momentum, took stock of all of the herbs and remedies that we have in my little humble abode, I'm now going to make my way out into the surrounding woods to resupply myself with in preparation for our journeys. Oh my god! I find nothing helpful. Pay the price. I rolled a 5 and rolled a double 7. No! So I have to pay the price and roll for trouble on the Oracle. So what can I do to pay the price? We will roll to pay the price, I guess, and see what happens. It is stressful. Alright, so we lose 2 spirit. Okay, so we were out gathering our supplies. We looked and looked and looked everywhere for, some edibles that we could use to restock our provisions, and herbs that we could use to make elixirs and potions, but we could not find anything useful. And when we make our way back to the village, what happens? We make a dangerous discovery. Oh, what is the dangerous discovery? Create active what? Knowledge. Create active knowledge. Oh, create active knowledge. Okay. So, rumors have been going around the village that are reaching up to the highest levels that we have been doing herbalism. And so there is currently no Child of the Light in power here in Valemark due to Child Kione's replacement not being here yet. And so the mystic Kona is waiting for me at my house when I get there. And he does have a couple of priesthood there with him. They're kind of like they're not really like weak little priests. They're part of the village guard. You know, they're children of the light as well, but they're not upper echelon children. But they are, you know, warriors in their own right. And so I make my way there. And what does Kona, the main mystic priest, have to say about me? Have to say to me? First of all, he acts indifferent to me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up a NPC emulator. So we know he is indifferent towards me. So he's probably going to be neutral. Alright. He's probably distrustful of me, I imagine. Due to the nature of him thinking that I'm doing something illegal. So we'll say he's distrustful of me. I'm going to roll the D10s here. I'm going to roll 2 D10s and see what his bearing is. We know that he's distrustful towards me. So we're going to say he's inquisitive. So we're going to roll on this table here. He's inquisitive here. And let's see what he has to say. An 83. So he rolled an 83. 83. Command. Okay. So when I get back to my thing there, he's very straightforward with it. Mystic Kona is, and he's got these tattoos of like sunbursts on his hands, and on his face there he's got a tattoo of what looks like an eclipse. He is making a demand straight away when I first wake up. He says,
"Dog, we have heard very disturbing rumors that you have been practicing herbalism. Tell me the truth. Are you doing so, like your grandfathers before you?"
So he's gonna just come out and ask me if I am doing so. So I'm gonna have to make a roll, and we're gonna say it is a compel roll, and we can use lie or swindle with shadow, which does give us a +1, right? So we do get our +1 for shadow. I thought it would add it automatically, but apparently it does not. So we're going to roll shadow compel and see if we can lie or basically convince him that we are not. Oof, a weak hit. Okay. We've got an 8 and a 3. They'll do what you want or share what they know, but also ask something of you in return. Envision what they want. Okay, so I do get to take 1 momentum. And if I use this exchange to gather information, I can now add +1 to that, but I'm not going to be gathering information. So I do tell him that I just use the herbs in my cooking and don't use it for medicine. You know, I'm not doing any medicinal use of herbal remedies. I'm just using it for my cooking. I'm an aspiring cook. He looks like he doesn't exactly believe me, but he's going to ask me to do something now. And what would he like me to do? Restore depleted nature, he says. Restore depleted nature. He wants me to go and gather some sort of herb for him. A special herb. And what does this herb do? The herb Wadero. It's a boost infusion plant. So he wants me to go gather this Wadero, and I don't know what he needs it for. Maybe this is a test to see if I am an herbalist. It's found in the Grasslands, which is good, because there's grasslands all around us. Okay, so this Kona fellow wants us to travel out and gather some Wadero for him. Interesting. And in return, they will, I guess, drop the chart, ignore the charges against us, perhaps. So let's go ahead and create a new track then. And we're going to have a journey. And this is going to be troublesome because we are here in the Grasslands. And we need to gather Wadero root. gather the Wadero plant. We don't know what it's for, but we know it's for Kona. Alright, so the head mystic of Valemark wants Wadero. I don't know what Wadero does, but perhaps as part of my mission, I can find out. Alright, so, very well. He wants us to gather this Wadero root. In return, they will drop the suspicion against us. Fine. Alright, so we'll gather Wadero plant for Kona. We're going to undertake our journey then. And we are going to say the journey is troublesome because it's here in the Havens. And we're going to roll wits, setting off from a community we share a bond at a +1. Alright, so we will. I'm going to go ahead and roll that. Oof, straight away, rolled a 6 against an 8 and a 9. That is a miss. We're waylaid by a perilous event, pay the price, and trouble Oracle. Alright, so we're going to pay the price once again. We waste resources. Oof. So we get down to 1 supply. As soon as we leave the village, we forget one of our packs. We forget one of our packs at our house. And so whenever we are several hours down the road, we realize that we forgot some very essential parts of our resources, and now we've wasted them and we're down to 1 supply, unfortunately. Now we could go ahead and spend the rest of this evening doing some resupply, perhaps. I think I will, because we're not going to be able to proceed as is with this low of supply. So since I've forgotten my supply at the house, I'm going to have to go ahead and spend a little time hunting and foraging to see if we can gather some additional supplies. And we get a strong hit on that. We rolled a 6 against a 2 and a 4. So luckily, even though we forgot our supplies, we can go ahead and collect 2 supplies from our surroundings, and we hunt down some food sources and some other materials that we might need on our journey to find this Wadero root. Alright, so let's go ahead and undertake the journey once again and see what we see. I don't get a +1 on this one. Alright, we reach a waypoint and mark progress, but suffer -1 supply again. Alright, so we do make our first waypoint here in our journey, and we are going to roll and see where we get for our first waypoint. Fields. Rough fields. And so we are coming across some rough fields. This is a place where a lot of the local farmers plant their crops and then barter their crops to the surrounding settlements like Valemark or Axecrag. But the place is really rough looking. Like it looks like they're not doing very well. The crops are all stunted and wilted and lots of weeds. In general, it doesn't look like a very good and fertile place. So this upcoming winter may be tough on us. Alright, let's go ahead and undertake the journey some more. And we get a strong hit and reach another waypoint. And we can mark progress, or I can move, or I can take momentum and suffer 1 more supply. I don't think we can afford to do that. So I'm going to mark progress on our journey. And we are going to find out where we're at now. We come into a barren valley. So we are crossing through a little bit of a little valley here where it's just rocks, just dry, hard rocks. And we know we have to pass through this valley to get to the rest of the grasslands where we can find this Wadero root. So we go ahead and move on through this barren valley as quickly and painlessly as we can given the circumstances. Alright, let's undertake the next part of our journey. We get another strong hit. rolled an 8 versus a 1 and a 4, and we are going to mark progress once again to gather our stuff. So I feel like we are now at a place where we can reach our destination. When we come to an end, roll the challenge dice and compare it to my progress. We are going to roll against the Gather Wadero plant and see what we get here. We rolled a 9 against a 6 and a 3. That's a strong hit. The situation at your destination favors you. Choose one, make another move now, and add +1 or take 1 momentum. I'm going to add another move now, which will be to gather information, which will be the gathering of our Wadero route. So we're going to go ahead and mark this as complete. So we make it back to another portion of the Grasslands, and we're going to see if we can find the Wadero route here. Alright, so let's gather information. We're going to be using wits. We're going to roll. We rolled a 4 against an 8 and a 3. The information complicates your quest or introduces a new danger. Envision what you discover and take +1 momentum. Alright, so I do find the Wadero route, and as I'm gathering up several, or it's not a root, it's a plant, the Wadero plant, I go ahead and start gathering up, and I start doing some study of it to see what it does, to maybe try to find out why he wants this. So what does Wadero root do? What is it for? I kind of like take little teeny tiny little nibbles of it, taste it, smell it, see if I can find out what it does. Endure hidden crossing corruption. So I think if you make a potion out of this Wadero plant, you can convince people to forget things that you have done that have wronged them. So perhaps Kova is also truly corrupt. Maybe Child Kione was framed by us, but maybe the mystic Kona is also doing something that is corrupt, and he wants to use a potion brewed from this plant to convince someone that he is not corrupt. Interesting. So, cover up corruption. So perhaps I am now going to swear a vow to find out what Kona is up to. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And we're going to call that a dangerous quest. Alright, so Kona the Mystic of Valemark is using a concoction of Wadero plant to cover up some concoction. So we're going to swear this vow, and we are going to try to find out what the heck is he doing. So we're going to swear an iron vow on this. And let's see. If you make this vow to a person or a community with whom you share a bond, add +1. It does have to do with Valemark, so I'm going to add +1 to that. We're going to roll. We rolled a 4 against a 10 and a 2, so we're determined to begin my quest with more questions than answers. We do take 1 momentum and envision what we do to find a path forward. So we do add a 1 momentum, and let's see what we need to do to find a quest forward. So I think the first thing we need to do is go back to Valemark and first speak with Kione and see what we can find out about Kova the Mystic. I think that's a good place to go for our next step. And so we're going to go ahead, before we go back, I think it is time for us to resupply once again here in this part of the Grasslands. And so we have to roll wits. I don't get a bonus on that. I'm going to roll. We rolled a 5 against a 9 and a 1. That's a weak hit. We take up to 2 supply, but we suffer 1 momentum for each. I'm going to go ahead and bump me up to 4, and I'm going to drop my momentum down to 5. So we are able to find quite a few resources here in the Grasslands, but unfortunately it takes me a long time to do so, and so I'll lose some of my momentum in doing so. But now we're going to undertake our journey, and we're just going to head back to we'll just do one roll on this undertake a journey for our journey back to Valemark, and we'll see what we need to do. We're just going to roll, and if we get a strong hit, well, we'll just do this one roll. We're not going to do any waypoints or anything like that. We'll just do this one roll here. All right, so we do lose one supply on our journey back. It's mostly okay, but it's really hot. It's really hot, and we have to drink a lot of water to keep ourselves hydrated. And but we make the journey back without too much ado, and we find our way back to Valemark without too much additional problem. And so we are going to go, and I'm going to talk, or first we're going to deliver our goods, deliver this Wadero route to Kona. So let's go talk with Kona and give him this Wadero route, and let's just talk him up a little bit and see if we can find out what he's using this Wadero route for, what he's using it, and I'm going to try to swindle him a little bit. So I'm going to add +1 from my potion. So we go and we give this Wadero route to Kona the Mystic, and we start talking about, plants and things like that, and the goings on. We talk a little bit about Child Keenan, and see if I can make him give us a little more information about what corruption he's trying to cover up. And I rolled a weak hit. I rolled a 7 against a 7 and a 2. They'll do what you want or share what they know, but they also ask something of you in return and envision what they want. Take 1 momentum. Or if I use this in exchange to gather information, make that move now and add +1. Oh, it says both, I guess. Okay, I'll do that. I'm going to go ahead and gather information then. And let's see, what does he want? What does he want from me? What does he want from me? I'm going to gather information. I do not share a bond with him. Okay. I roll a 5 against a 5 and a 3. I could burn momentum. Okay. The information complicates your quest or introduces a new danger. Interesting. So, I do get a progress in this. But something is going to complicate my quest. I also get 1 momentum. So, let's see what corruption is he doing? Uphold foul function. Uphold foul function. So he is practicing some dark magic. So he is doing some necromancy, which is in direct opposition to the Lord of the Light, which that's like the Lord of the shadows and of death. So we continue to talk to him, and he lets slip some things about dark magic. And so we're going to have to find out what he's doing with this dark magic. So we go ahead and give him this Wadero plant. We don't know what he's going to use it for his necromancy, but we do need to go talk to Kione, I think, and see what we can do to start finding out what the heck is going on with Kona. Alright, so we're going to go talk to Kione about Kova and their dark magic. Alright, so let's go talk to Kione. Alright, I'm going to compel him that I'm going to try to convince him that Kova is practicing dark magic, and I'm going to have to use heart for that, which will not give me a +1. So I'm going to talk to Kione here, and I'm going to tell him what we found out and about Kova approaching us and wanting to use Wadero to cover up some corruption, and that he let slip something about necromancy in our discussion. And so we're going to tell all of that to Kione and see if we can convince him to help us figure out what's going on with Kova. Oof. Miss. We rolled a 4 against a 5 and a 7. Oh, now I could burn some of my momentum to get rid of that 5 dice and make this a weak hit. Otherwise, they refuse and make a demand which costs me greatly. Pay the price. I think I will burn my momentum, which turns it into a weak hit. Alright. So for a weak hit, they'll do what we want and share what they know, but they also ask something of you in return. Envision what they want. Okay. So that'll put us back down to 3 because we burned our momentum. And then we also know that we're going to have to do something now for Kione. And so we need to gather information about what Kova is doing. Alright. So we're in discussion with Kione. We do convince him to help us to find out what he knows. Let's find out what he knows, and then we'll find out what he wants in return. Oof. Dang. Your investigation unearths a dire threat or reveals an unwelcome truth that undermines my quest. Pay the price. Holy crap. What did we find out about Kova? Excuse me, I put Kona. That's why I keep saying Kona. It's Kova. Alright. Interesting. Okay, but now I have to pay the price. It wastes resources. Dang. Okay, that doesn't really make sense, does it? Let's give myself some stress instead. So instead of wasting a resource, we'll waste a spirit. Because what we found out is truly troublesome indeed. And let's see what that is. Settlement trouble. Nature strikes back. Ooh. So, Kione and I are discussing what Kova has been doing with this necromancy. And suddenly, Kione's eyes turn white. And even though he's not at the Iron Pillar, he suddenly gets a message from the Lord of the Light. And the Lord of the Light tells us that there is a cave a few miles from the village where Kova has been traveling, and that a shadow is covering that area, and the Lord of the Light can't see into that area and know what Kova is doing. And when Kova enters that area, we know, or the Lord of the Light can no longer see him, feel him, has no contact with him. There's something there near that cave, and it is a direct threat to this settlement. And so we're going to have to go figure out what's in that cave. All right. So we know that there is a cave of shadows near Valemark. And I think Kione is going to go with me this time. And we're going to go to this shadow cave and see what we can find out there that Kova is doing. So we wait until it's not nightfall, but we wait until it's dusky so that we can kind of sneak out of the village. And do we see Kova leaving the village? Let's say 50-50. Do we see Kova also leaving the village towards that cave? No, we do not. Okay. So we leave, and we're going to undertake a journey to go find this village, this cave. It's relatively close by. Kova goes there regularly. So we're just going to undertake a journey, one roll, and see if we can find this cave and see what's up there. Alright, so we rolled a 6 against a 3 and a 4. A strong hit. we reach a waypoint. If the waypoint's unknown to you, we know it's a cave in this case. So we can either mark progress, or we can make progress +1 momentum but suffer 1 supply. I think I'm going to do that because I might need that momentum in this upcoming situation. So Kione and I, we travel through the directions that the little visions that the Lord of the Light gave to Kione. We follow those until we come upon this cave. And sure enough, as we get nearer and nearer the cave, there's a darkness, an unnatural darkness surrounding this place. And even though it is dark already, it is getting incredibly dark and scary and eerie. And so I think instead of going into this place of darkness at night where things of the dark have more power, I think we might make a camp and wait until daylight. However, we only have 2 supply, so so maybe we won't make camp. Maybe we'll just what can I do to restore my spirit? Okay, so I think I will reach a milestone here, and side of this mission, because we found this cave. We'll just go ahead and put it up to a 2. And so I don't think there's anything I can really do to prepare at this point for us coming up to this cave. So I think we're just gonna have to go into the cave. So let's go ahead, and we could do a delve, even though I don't have the delve thing. I like this little delve the depths here. Search a perilous site and search for your objective. We'll just go on an adventure and we will face danger, I guess. Or we'll gather information. So both myself and Kione start to look around in this cave. I'm going to give myself a +1 because Kione's helping me. We do have a bond with them. We're going to look around the outskirts of this cave and see if we can find anything interesting about the shadow. We rolled an 8 together against a 3 and a 2. That's a strong hit. We discover something helpful and specific. The path you must follow or action you must take to make progress is made clear. Envision what you learn and add 2 momentum. Okay, so we're up to 6 momentum, and let's see what we find out about this place. It's defended. Oh, interesting. It's defended. So as we sit and we kind of watch this cave, what do we see defending this thing? We see a bone walker or a skeleton walking around outside of this cave. It is nighttime, so he's not affected by sunlight at this time. So we see this thing acting kind of like a guard, walking back and forth in front of this cave. And he's holding a little short sword in his hand. That's probably what he used in life when before he was risen from the dead. But it's human remains given unnatural life. The source of the dark energy animating them is a mystery. Some say it's the will of dark gods. Others say an ancient evil. Perhaps it's a work of corrupt mystics, which I think is the case. So they usually roam the location of their final resting place, a burial site, or a settlement blighted by disease or violence. Soulless monsters driven only to destroy the living. So maybe he died here. Maybe this was a burial cairn originally, and Kova is coming here to practice his necromancy to become more adept at it. So I think it is up to us. Kione is enraged by seeing this blight on light. This is the direct opposition to his beliefs in the Lord of the Light, and he is disgusted by this skeleton, and he wants to immediately destroy it. And so I feel like we are going to enter into the fray. So when we enter into combat, select a foe track with a rank and roll to determine who's in control. And we will move into position against an unaware foe, striking without warning. We will roll shadow, I think. And so that will give us +1 with our shadow roll. I'm going to give us another 1 for working in conjunction with Kione. So let's go ahead and create a tract for a dangerous foe now. So we want to have a foe that is dangerous. This is in progress. It is a bone walker, and I think last time I did combat, I think I might have done some things wrong, so we'll try to do better this time. Okay, so there's a bone walker in front of the cave. Maybe risen by Kova the Mystic? Don't know, question mark? Alright. So what we're going to do is we're going to roll to enter the fray now. We are going to enter the fray using shadow, +2 for my potion and for having Kione here with me. So we're going to lay in wait until the bone walker turns his back on us, and we are going to roll shadow to get the jump on him. So we rolled a 6 versus a 4 and a 4, strong with a positive twist, take 2 momentum, and we have no initiative. So the bone walker turns away from us and starts walking kind of like in his little patrol route back into the cave slightly, and Kione and I both move on either side of the entrance of this cave. And when he comes out, we both get ready to strike with a positive twist. So I feel like we are going to strike, and I'm going to give myself one. I'm going to get to re-roll 1 dice if necessary. But we're going to roll strike with edge because we're going to be using our long arm trait. When you instead use it as a simple weapon with 1 harm, we can strike using edge instead of iron, add +1, and take momentum on a hit. Fantastic. So I'll get to add +1 on that as well. Plus my shadow. Oh, no, I don't get to use shadow for this. So I'm just going to go back down to 2. So add +1 from using my weapon, and Kione, I get a +1 from them. And so we get to roll to attack against this guy. And I get to re-roll 1 dice as my positive twist because we get the jump on this guy basically. Alright, so initially we get a 7 and against a 7 and a 2. I'm going to re-roll this 7 to see if we can get a strong hit. We can. We re-roll it and we get a strong hit. Both of us strike out. I have my staff and Kione has a cudgel of some sort, like a studded cudgel, and we both strike out at the same time from either direction and strike this skeleton in multiple places, and we inflict 1 harm and retain initiative. So we are going to increase his harm there, and we regain the initiative. So in addition to our blows, we knock him off of his stride. He stumbles around as we both strike him in different places, and we make another strike also with a +1 from Kione and +1 from my long arm. We roll an 11 against a 10 and a 7. Another strong hit. We inflict a harm and we retain the initiative. Alright, fantastic. So we roll another harm against this guy. So we have him on his back foot, and I spin my staff and expertly strike him in his hand, and he drops his weapon. And at the same time, Kione is making his way around the side of him, and he clubs him in the back, and he arches his skeletal back, and now he is unarmed except for his gnarly clawed hands, like the bones, fingers. He can still use those as weapons as well. We still retain the initiative. We're going to roll again. We rolled a 12 freaking against a 9 and a 6, another strong hit. We inflict a harm, and we are just wailing on this Bone Walker as he continues to stumble and fall and loses balance. We just continue to bash him with blow after blow of our bludgeoning weapons. And finally, we roll an 8 versus an 8 and a 4. It's a weak hit. We inflict our harm. However, he is able to finally remove himself from... He's able to parry at last with one of the blows, and he spins around. He's able to scoop up his short sword, and he's going to make an attack against us as well. And so he is going to... We're going to roll Clash. I'm going to use Edge still. And we're going to continue to use a +1 from Kione. And we roll a 7 versus a 4 and an 8. We inflict harm once again, but then we pay the price. The foe continues to have initiative. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and inflict our harm. And he is going to pay the price. We could pay the price, or I could just endure harm. So we could say that the skeleton grabs my throat with his bony hand, and he squeezes as hard as he can, and we're reeling and fighting to stay conscious, and we're going to have to take a breather before resolving any other moves, and we also take 1 harm from that. Alright, so we're going to try to end this fight with the Bone Walker. And then we're going to have to take a breather, I think. So we're going to roll against the progress that we have against the Bone Walker, which we have all 10 slots. We're going to roll, and we get a 4 and a 7 with the 10 plus 2. Or I should probably just change that to a +1 because Kione, not my long arm. And so we roll against a 4 and a 7. That's a strong hit. And so we're able to finally knock the skeleton down, and the undead light fades from his eyes as he is completely removed from his unlife. And we have completely destroyed this foe. Alright, fantastic. And I'm going to give myself a little bit of progress in our Kova journey. Okay. So, we are going to try to heal and use iron ore wits to heal myself. Whew. I feel like we might need to just go ahead and press on. Might need to just go ahead and press on deeper into the cave. So let's go further into the cave. Let's face danger. And we're going to sneak into the cave using, well, we'll use edge. We'll sneak in with precision. Well, I think we really should use shadow. We're going to sneak in and try to be as stealthy as possible, even though we only get a +1 from shadow. We're going to do it. We rolled a 5 against a 3 and a 4, so we succeed and take 1 momentum. And what do we see inside of this cave? White wrath. White wrath. So as we walk in, we can see bones scattered out around the entrance of this cave. And it looks like perhaps these were failed attempts at necromancy, that he tried to revive some of these corpses and was unable to do so. And they're strewn about are several Bone Walker corpses that weren't brought back to unlife from this necromancy. Alright, so we're going to go deeper into this cave here and see if we can find more information about what is causing this darkness here. So I'm going to use a gather information roll. I'm going to continue to use a +1 from Kione. And we rolled an 8 against a 10 and a 1, a weak. The information complicates your quest or introduces new danger. Envision what you discover and take 1 momentum. Alright, so we walk deeper into the cave, and we see in there another iron pillar in this cave. But instead of being untarnished like the pillars that we associate with the Lord of the Light, this one is covered in spots of rust and corruption. And we can see, or at least Dog recognizes some of the Wadero plant laying around, and it looks like perhaps Kova has been using that plant to try to scour away this rust that has been accruing on this metal pillar. And so as we're doing that, we hear a noise from outside the cave, as if someone is displeased at seeing that defeated Bonewalker. And so, is it Kova coming here? We're going to say it's likely. Well, we'll say it's almost certain that it's Kova. But we're going to roll and let the Oracle decide. Yes, we rolled a 37. It is indeed Kova coming in. So we're going to try to hide then. We're going to face danger. We're going to use Shadow. Myself and Kione, we're going to try to hide and see if we can find out what he's doing. So we start looking around for some nooks and crannies in this cave, but in view of the metal pillar. So we rolled an 8 versus a 7 and a 6. We succeed. Take another momentum. We can't take another momentum. So can I instead take a spirit? I think I will. I don't think that's in the rules, but I think we're so burgeoned by we're pumped full of adrenaline, and so it recovers a little bit of my spirit from the adrenaline of knowing that we're about to find out what he does. So Kova, we find some hiding places in the darkness of the cave there, and Kova comes in, and he has a lantern with him. We turned off our torches or lanterns or whatever we were using for light. And Kova comes in with his lantern, and he's kind of looking at this pillar, and he brings out that Wadero root that he saw us using, and he starts to scrub at these rusty places on this metal pillar. And we can see that from the light of his lantern that indeed, as he rubs the sap of this plant onto this pillar, that some of the rust does indeed start to fleck off of this metal pillar. And when he gets a lot of that corruption off of the metal pillar, he places his hands on it, and he begins to chant in a guttural, ungodly language. And he starts to chant over and over in this dark language. And you can see that from the center of this pillar, shadows visible even against the darkness. They're so black, black on black. Shadows swirling around over this pillar, gathering in power as he gains in intensity of his chanting. More and more shadows gain, and we see that he's reaching a crescendo of power. And as he's reaching this crescendo, we see rust begin to accumulate, even to the naked eye. It's like accelerated rust starting to accumulate on this metal pillar as he gathers more and more of this dark energy. And it looks like he's about to unleash it in some way. And so we are going to enter the fray. But that's going to be it for this episode. Next episode, we will begin the battle against Kova and his dark power. But I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, be sure and hit that like button and leave a comment. It really helps the channel. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.